Welcome to Cross Border Interviews. This is the show where we sit down with municipal political leaders from across Canada. Now, our mission on this show is quite simple: shine a light on the dedicated individuals who day in and day out work around that council table to shape the communities that we and they call home. And for today's episode, we are honored to be sitting down and chatting with City of Cold Lake, Alberta Councillor Vicky Lefebvre. Now, the city of Cold Lake, Alberta is located 3 hours east of Edmonton, Alberta, the capital, and is surrounded by natural beauty from its clear blue waters with sandy beaches to the rugged forest backdrop. Now, the city of Cold Lake is a four-season playground that attracts tourists with a deep sense of adventure. Vicky, thank you so much for sitting down with me and chatting about yourself, chatting about the city of Cold Lake, and also chatting about your re-election bid as councillor for the city of Cold Lake. But before we talk about the city, your re-election bid, let's talk about you. Let's get to know the woman behind the persona a little bit. So I've got to start with a little simple question, but it's a very big one. Where does your sense of duty to serve your community come from, Vicky?
I've heard you ask other people that, and I've been racking my brain thinking, where did it start? But I have to say, I always felt a sense of responsibility growing up, like from my parents, that you have to be responsible for your fellow man, and when you can, give a hand up and not a handout. I don't know how else to explain that. It's just kind of, I don't want to say inbred, that's not a proper terminology, but it was just kind of there all the time.
Was it instilled by mom and dad?
Yes, yes. Like I shouldn't give too much information. My parents, I'm an only child, so sometimes they had to work really hard so that I wouldn't be selfish and, things like that. So they worked really hard in ensuring that they still instilled good work ethic and a responsibility for others, not just myself.
So, where does the desire to give back and help your fellow man come from in the political arena? Because you could have given back in many different ways through nonprofits, through volunteerism. Where did the desire to serve on council come from?
I started working on different things from early in our marriage. And like I told you, it's been a long-term marriage. So that once the children came along, it was working with kindergarten. I walked the floors. We had gymnastics, we had soccer. And because I'm a former banker, I was always responsibility for the treasury. That was always my role. I was always the treasurer. And, I love trying to balance things. It's like it just makes me giggle, and everybody else, their eyes is glaze over, but I like it. So I always had that job on different things from school council, and then I did from kindergarten all the way up to grade 12. And in the interim, I worked with service groups. Like I've been with the Lions over 25 years. Just I have to give a shout out to them because for people that work for their community, they do a lot. So we walked a lot of bingo floors and stuff like that, but we've given back tons of money to the city and to our constituents and to people who need help. So I like that. I've worked with Community Futures, and that is a place where we can help small business or people wanting to become entrepreneurs. I like that because working in a bank, we weren't always open to someone who wanted to start things. So that's another way of helping out. And because a lot of times, like I said, I feel people don't necessarily need a handout, they need a hand up. And when you can help them in these ways. So being in the bank, I realized business, they need to make a profit, any business. And when they make a profit, they also do very well at giving back to the community. And if you have a good functioning business community, your service groups and stuff like that, your hockey, your skating, your, soccer, dance, all of that, they all benefit because these people sponsor them. So I've seen that. I've worked, I've just worked so many. I thought I'd write them down, but there's such a big list and I've probably forgotten more.
So, what was the first election that you decided to put your name on the ballot?
In 2000, for the city council in 2010, and for the Lakeland Catholic School Board, it was 2001. And they asked me if I would do it, and I didn't even really know what a trustee was. And then I was kind of taken aback when they said it was a political position because I thought, who, political? We've got to stay back from there because that's no good. But they helped me learn so much in regards to governance and stuff like that. And I kind of think it was a natural progression from trustee on to counselor because you have that background now in governance and you want to help whatever it is you're doing. Like education means a lot to me, right? Both regular and post-secondary and stuff like that. So I think that helped me get into council. And I thought, well, this is another way to serve. I retired back in 2008. And sometimes when you're a type A personality, you kind of have to,
I'm getting a sense that there's a lot of type A personalities
yeah,
who run for council there, Vicky.
I don't know how to say it nicely, but you tend to want to,
That's the
you
nicest way
want to
I've heard it
work
be
and
called.
you want to work and help out your community, right? You want to make a difference and you want
So,
your community to shine.
so before we talk about the community, 10 years, 15 years on council,
Mhm.
24 years as a school board trustee.
Mhm.
How has public service changed Vicky?
I've learned to listen to different people and I've
Is that
learned,
hard?
um, well, no, I don't say it's hard, but it's all of a sudden you just have no idea like what some of these little students come in and are facing. That was like, you're like, really? Because unfortunately, we all live in our own little, I don't know if you want to call it bubble. Like we
I
just had
would.
a nice time. We took the kids to school. We had all, and I never even knew that there was all these other struggles. So I learned a lot that way. And then getting on city council, I might have been a little conceited in my attitude, thinking, I lived here most of my life and I know lots of people. I know about it, so I can, do this no problem. Well, there I was shocked again. Chris, I have to tell you, I had no idea exactly all the things the city's involved with. And I think the more I think of that, the prouder I am of our community because our staff and administration and my fellow counselors, they all work to make this a better place. That's everybody's goal, right? So and then you hear struggles that you never knew. I never knew long ago that there was a struggle to try and pick up elderly people to go to an appointment. I just never knew. I didn't realize people couldn't go from the south to the north to the lake because they didn't have a vehicle. Like some of them weren't able to go to the beach, and I'm thinking, here you are, I don't want to say your typical family, you have a couple cars and you just go. So I learned a lot and I have a soft spot for what they call soft services. And I'm not ashamed to say that. Like someone said, "Oh, you're good on soft services." I love the library. I love FCSS. I like the way they help people, and you can go in with no judgment. Like that is pretty awesome that these people do that.
Well, it goes back to your original statement as well, not giving a hand out, but giving a hand up. And that's what
Hmm.
FCSS is kind of there. And I just sat down with the chair, who happens to be the Bonneville councillor, Caleb Von Scheb, but
Oh,
also
yeah, she's great.
Tyler Gandon, president of AB Communities, about what FCSF does. It doesn't matter who you are. If you need help, they will give a hand up to you and they will make sure that you feel needed and like actually helped in that response. When you're around that council, and I want to talk about the soft services for a second, when you're around that council table, How important is it for you to look through that type of lens where it is that single mother who is struggling to find something for their two kids to do that night, or the 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 person down on the luck working paycheck to paycheck to feed themselves and keep a roof over their head? Those soft services come into play a lot when you look at the library. So for you, how do you balance that aspect of the job? Because you and I get giddy when we balance the budget, but
Oh yeah, I do. I do. I do.
some of those soft services can often be losers. When I say losers, as in they lose money for the municipality. So is it hard to balance that two aspects of yourself?
Well, I wouldn't say they lose money. I wouldn't use that terminology, Chris,
Okay.
because when we help someone out and they're not becoming a user of different services that actually cost your municipality money, then when you give them a hand up and help them, they can become a better citizen or become a more functioning citizen where they may not have had those opportunities before. So, and our library, for one, a lot of people don't have access to the internet. So they're able to go to the internet. They're able to, like our staff there, here, we have two libraries here. We're pretty blessed. Um, they're able to go there. The staff will help you look how you can do up your resumes. And this is all provided for free. It's not nothing's free in Waterworld, I understand. But to the person walking into the library, they're not having to pay for services like that. They can have their resume printed off, but they can show them how they can get, lots of people still don't know that you can get free magazine things online. You get your books free online. You get downloads. You can have multiple books in line. You can have so many things. You can if you want to watch your stock market and stuff, depending on where you are, that's all available through your library. Like the service they provided to me is second to none. Sorry, I
Looking at
didn't mean to get off on that.
Hey, no, but that's the great thing about these conversations. This is not an in stone conversation. This is just a conversation between two people trying to learn more about the people who are serving our communities. And you've served your community in two different ways, as a school board trustee and as a counselor. I want to stick to the council position for a few minutes and
Mhm.
talk about sitting around that council table. Now,
You know,
you've had to make some very tough decisions around that council table, I'm assuming.
yeah, we've had to make tough decisions. And, after I don't know what it was, about 2020, when we received the ID 349 funding, I'll tell you, it changed the dynamics around the table. We weren't scrunching for every penny and stuff like that, and we weren't worrying about our viability and things like that. So it changed. And I'd say our council works very hard at trying to make life easier and less expensive for our community members. We have opportunities for them to utilize our rec center at reduced fees. We've worked on the Kinnasoo Beach. We've worked on a number of things where families can go and it doesn't cost them any money, right? We have our free bus transit system, which people really give us a few knocks for, but I stand up and praise it because we have people that use that to go to work.
And I could tell you right now, and I'm just going to interject here, but I know many seniors who are on very fixed income. And if they had access to free transportation through the municipality, that would be a godsend to them. And I say this knowing my grandmother is one of those people. My grandmother lives in the community back in Ontario, and she still gets around, but she would love access that she wouldn't have to worry about the car, worry about the vehicle, and go somewhere. And if there was a bus that was option for her to get on and go somewhere, that would be a godsend. And I'm assuming same in Cold Lake. There are some people who may knock it, which is understandable. Not 100% of the people are
Right.
ever going to agree on
Right.
anything.
That is so
Like,
true. And I've learned to accept that. At first I thought, oh, like we're trying to do what's good for Cold Lake. But now I think, you know, I think as counselors, we look at the bigger picture. Like you said, there's seniors that can use it for free, school teenagers that can use it for free. We have any single moms can use it to take their kids. I mean, we even had the daycare take the children on the bus to another place, like, a recreational facility. So it really, um, it comes at a cost, but I feel it's a cost worth bearing.
Learning the fact that you've learned so quickly that 100% of the people are never going to agree on things, how do you make decisions then? Because you're going to upset someone at the end of the day. How do you ensure that the greater good is always winning on issues?
Well, that's when your personal stuff steps aside. And I really do focus on what's best for Cold Lake. What's best for Cold Lake? What's going to make my community better? Is this going to help my community or is it not? And that's what we have to do. And, sometimes we hit it out of the ballpark, and other times they want to hit us out of the ballpark. But we're also trying to make decisions for not just today, right? Our decisions are trying to make a legacy for Cold Lake. You want people to remember us. I want people to want to move here. I want them to live here and raise their families, retire, and enjoy what we have. And we can bring tourism in just by the natural beauty here. So I I don't know, I'll get off my soapbox.
Hey, I love when counselors get on their soapbox because it makes my job a lot easier when I don't have to ask so many questions. But I want to turn to the city of Cold Lake as a whole now. And
Mhm.
for anyone who has listened to this, you are an elected official. You are still technically in the 2021-2025 term. So
Yes.
before I ask some questions, I'm going to preface it by saying this. This is a conversation between the counselor and myself. This is not a motion of council, not a direction of council, not a policy of council. This is the counselor's opinion and her opinion alone. Now, it may
Okay,
line up
thank you.
with what's being said at council, but at the end of the day, it's still her opinion. She needs a majority of council members around the table to vote in favor or against anything to make a motion pass or reject a motion. Said that over about 800 times now, I think, 600 times. I've gotten pretty used to that. So, counselor, in your opinion, as of recording this in the middle of September, actually on September 15th, 2025, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing the city of Cold Lake today?
Right now, I think people are feeling a bit unsafe in our city because of certain reasons. And I think some of our constituents feel that the city has not done enough, but also the citizens, and I should never use a but, although that they may not understand all the steps the city has taken. We've worked in the past, like this last term, I have to tell you, is dealing with more social issues than we ever had in the past. Because Chris, municipal politics, we're supposed to be working on roads and sewers and, you know, but we're not working on that anymore. We're working on a lot more social issues. So we've hired more policemen, which comes at a big cost. Because we hit over the 15,000 mark, now we pay 90% of our policing and their costs, which resulted in an increase in our taxes this last year. And we have more peace officers, bylaw officers, and we're working on trying to educate the people in different ways on how to make their places safer. And this all takes time. We're also advocating, like one of my things is advocating for the stopping of the catch and release. We've had, a few what we would call prolific offenders, and we feel that possibly if the Crown would have taken a different direction, it would have helped our community. So we're going farther. We have received one more day of court, but we still need to meet with the Crown and the ministry, and we're working on that as a city council. Like we feel strongly about this. We feel that can help. It's not going to alleviate our problems, but it'll certainly help make a dent in them. And I want families to feel safe that their kids can go to the park and they can go to Walmart, I really do. So we're looking at, and I think this is where we can collaborate with our regional partners. What can we do together to try and make all of our places safer? It's a little difficult in the EMD. They're out farther and it takes longer for the municipal officers to get out there and stuff like that. But together, I think we can make it a good place. It's just not going to happen overnight. And it's not a Coal Lake issue.
It's a Canada issue, and I say that
Yeah,
respectfully because I
yeah.
know the mayor of Winnipeg, Scott Gillingham, the mayor of Portage la Prairie, Manitoba, Sherilyn Knox, the mayor of North Battleford, Saskatchewan, Kelly, I forget her last name right now, and I apologize, mayor, because she was on the show just recently. They've all written letters to the Minister of Justice federally talking about bail reform being a top priority around these prolific repeat offenders who are just basically revolving door at the courthouse. While that's a big challenge, as you said, it's not something that the municipality can change overnight. It's not something that is quote unquote in their jurisdiction. So, do you think, and I say this kind of haphazardly, do you think the city of Cold Lake has gotten a good sort of feel of how the path forward can look like if the issue was resolved?
I think we do. We're working on it. And if anything, like our administration, especially our administration and council, they're very good at looking into the future. Like, what do we need to do? Like we bought our own medical clinic to assist us in getting doctors. And by the end of this year, we should have, 15 doctors. But that took a few years. Like, I think what happens is your constituents want things to happen overnight. And unfortunately, they don't. So, we're working on it. I have full confidence that we'll get something done. Will it be today, Chris? No. It's going to be a job. And I don't know, like, there's creative people here that can figure out what do we do because, unfortunately, St. Paul, if they can't get him in for the mental health, then they're left there on the streets, right? So there's a number of issues. We tackle a lot. And I have full confidence we'll get there. It's just not going to happen overnight. And another thing I want to advocate for, if you want to ask me, is
Well,
high.
I'm gonna preface that in the next segment, so just
Okay,
keep
okay,
that with you because there's gonna be something else I'm gonna be talking about when we talk about your reelection bid.
okay.
Understandable, every municipality has their issues. What's the
Mhm.
thing that Cold Lake does right, in your opinion?
Oh my gosh, we make it the best place for families. We make it the best place for families. You can come for concerts, you can have recreation. We have low-cost recreation. We have tons of parks. We make things good for families in Cold Lake.
Okay. Now we got those two big questions out of the way. Now the big part
Okay.
of the interview comes into
Ooh,
play
now the
here,
serious
Vic.
stuff.
Yes, now it's the serious stuff because
Okay.
we are recording this
Okay.
5 days or a week, literally a week before nomination period closes in the province of Alberta for elections on October 20th. Now, prior to the interview starting, we were talking off the record. You said yes, you are running for re-election. So I'm no,
Yes, I
hopefully I'm not like stopping any presses. And you've already
am.
announced it. I'm not breaking the news as
No,
we
no,
talk
no.
right
I
now.
have I have my name in. I have my signs up. I'm working on my Facebook page, and people are trying to help me on my brochure because I did say I was technically challenged. So, when it's talking face to face or whatever, or texting, I love texting, short, sweet, to the point. And if it's not that, so I am out there, and I hope people recognize my experience. I hope they recognize that I try and treat everybody with respect. And I expect that back as well too, Chris. Like I don't like our what we call keyboard warriors. I think there's no reason for, um, would you tell your grandma
Some of
what
the stuff
idiot
that,
would do this? And I think that's not how you talk to your grandma or your mom. Really, it's like, help me understand what made you make that decision.
yeah.
Like because unfortunately, sometimes when they see you at the council table, they bring up the motion and you're all yes, right? They don't understand we've seen that package three or
which
four
which
times.
they could technically see as well
Ab-
if
Absolutely. We've seen that package three or four times. And our administration is great because, I mean, we change our mind and they change it. And we change our mind and then they change it. And then we finally get it to council. And then they say, this is the motion and we're all, yeah. But we have worked it out in, what some people call it the committee of the whole. Ours is not called that, but that's where you're working it out. And all our meetings are public. You can view them online. And I have a pet peeve when people say we're not transparent. That's one thing that I have to say gives me a little, what would you say, burn? Or I don't know. What's the terminology? I don't know. Tell
it
me. You're younger
it
than me.
it irks you.
Okay, it irks me because I think you can look at any one of our packages. Usually at the end of the month or the first of the month, you'll have all our reports. You'll have our reports from the police, the FCSS, the library, um, the firemen. Like it's all there. The rec center, it'll tell you how many memberships we sold, how many golf tournaments. It tells you everything. But you have to look for it. How
Well,
much
and
water we used.
well, the issue is, and this is going a little bit off the rails for myself, but I agree wholeheartedly that I think in 2025, and this I'm not speaking for all municipalities, but I would say the majority of municipalities are as transparent as they can be.
Mhm.
But the thing I always say is residents need to go a little bit of the way. They can't expect the counselor and the mayor to show up at the door every week and say, "Here's the package. Here's what we're talking about. Here's the debrief of what you're going to do." Residents have to do a little bit of the work, and that's Chris Brown saying that. That's not Vicky saying that. So please
Yeah.
send your emails to me because residents, understandably, if you're upset, search,
Mhm.
research, get engaged, get involved, learn about what the issues are, show up to a council meeting and listen to what's being talked about. Don't just go behind Facebook or X or Instagram and say whatever you want to say. There's my little rant there.
Thank you. That's very good. We also have a portion on our agenda all the time for the public. It's there all the time to come and ask questions. And, people have brought concerns to us that were really good. And we were able to work on it when we were made aware of it, right? Because I don't necessarily drive all over the city of Cold Lake. So when you tell me about something, then I can, chances are then I'll go have a look and see what you're talking about and we can bring it to the table. So small things that can make a big difference. But if we're not aware,
I agree.
well,
But I want to go back to your reelection bid because
okay.
the question that I want to start this off at is after 15 years as an elected official, you say, I want four more.
Okay.
Either you are a glutton for punishment or you really, really enjoy the job of being a counselor after 15 years. What made you decide after 15 years you wanted to do it for another four? Was it just you wanted that continuity on council because we see a big changeover happening in Cold Lake, or was there another personal reason?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, I feel I can give another 4 more years, and I want to serve as long as I can. Yeah, I really do. Two, the continuity. Yes, it makes a difference because you kind of have to know your history and where you came from. Because unless you know some of that, because there's things that public is not all necessarily aware of that your struggles you've gone through and how you made it to where you are today. So I really think that's needed, as well as, being a little longer in the tooth. I think I get a little wisdom too. I've learned a lot from both our mistakes, and our highlights.
What are you hearing from the people of Cold Lake right now as you door knock, as you talk to them? What are the issues they want championed over the next 4 years? Because I, I would hazard a guess, because I've chatted to a few of the candidates who are running in this election in Cold Lake. They're the same that they're hearing. But what are you hearing that they residents want accomplished over the next 4 years?
Well, I think we already touched on this, but safety. Safety is a big concern. People would also like their medical. They'd like to have doctors because we did do a survey a few years ago when we did the election, and we had a lot of people without doctors. So we've encouraged licensed practical nurses, and we're constantly working for professionals and doctors. We, as a city, bought the MCC and are working that way. Also, we're looking at alternatives for getting our own MRI and stuff like that. I think regionally we can do that to bring people here. Another thing is people want the cost to be um, fair. They don't want to have things very expensive. Unfortunately, our housing can be expensive here. And as a council, we're aware with the F-35 coming, Highway 28 is important, housing's important. So we've put in measures to try and help people or companies look at building, multifamily buildings and stuff like that, so we can lower some costs. We have incentives and smaller lots made available, so you don't have to build a $600,000 house, right? You can look at building a more affordable one in the $300,000 to $400,000 range. Like the council is trying to get ready for that because it'll make a big difference when that F-35 comes. I mean, in Highway 28, they have to bring their fuel up there.
Which
You,
I have not had the pleasure to drive on Highway 28, because I was supposed to be. This episode was actually supposed to be recorded in person for those who are listening and watching, but
yeah,
due to car mechanical issues, I had to stop in beautiful Red Deer. Not saying it's more beautiful than Cold Lake for the people who are listening. Cold Lake, I'm just saying beautiful Red Deer because it was beautiful when I was there, and it wasn't raining as it was up in Cold Lake at the time. But Highway 28 seems to be the issue that I seems to be on the top of a lot of people's minds right now.
you know,
You've
some
Go ahead.
sometimes I just go to sleep and I think, why do we have to struggle so hard for something? I don't know. Like, and I question it, but we persevere. We don't give up. And we have towns all along Highway 28 working together to get that improved. And we're seeing some small improvements, but there's a lot more needed. And like you get kind of worried, because they're not going to fix that whole highway overnight. It's going to take a few years. And we're not in the budget other than their $5 million they have. And you have to get in that budget line, and we're not in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's a
So,
worry.
how do you plan to advocate for Cold Lake on that file? Because not on that file alone, because you talked about three very big issues, but all of those three issues traditionally are not in the municipal realm.
I know.
Healthcare, not a municipal issue. More and more municipalities are dealing with it because the provinces keep on telling them, "Oh, if you want to recruit, do it yourself, and we'll help you. Like pay for them. We'll pay for the doctors. You just recruit them." Um, RCMP, the federal government tells
Mm.
you how much you have to pay, so you have no control over that. It seems like a lot of issues that are going on in Cold Lake are very provincial and federal issues. How does a municipality work within those parameters then?
Well, that's where he said, Chris, we have to be creative. And we have a great admin that check out all sorts of things. We're constantly looking at different kind of grants to help us out in these different neighborhoods, whether it's for homelessness, whether it's for the John Howard, whether it's for, FASD. There's a lot of things happening within our community. And together, I think we all want the same thing. So we're willing to put in the time and hard work to get it.
So what are you going to be
And we will
advocating?
get it. We
Oh,
will get it. I'm not thinking no, we will get it.
so what's your advocacy work? What are you going to be working on for the next 4 years if the people of Cold Lake put their trust in you for another 4 years to serve on their council?
Well, I definitely want it to make it a better safer way to be. I've gone on a few conference calls these last couple of days in regards to homelessness. I've got in regards to crime. I work on the police committee. We're all working towards the same goal. And I think together we'll come up with some good strategies to move forward. We can't do it alone, but with everyone. And we have to be like a dog with a bone. We do not give up with that provincial government. Hear us, Coal Lake, here we roar.
And I
So,
will, and no, but I will say and for those who are listening and watching who don't get to attend the conferences that I get to attend, but whenever I attend Alberta municipalities, there's always the bear pit session, and there's always usually someone from Cold Lake up at
yeah.
the microphone pressing Minister Dreeshen, Minister of Economic Corridors and Transportation, about what's going on with Highway 28.
Well, because it affects you several ways, not only for tourism. You want people to come here. They go on that road a couple times, they're not coming back. Whereas when they come here, we're at the end of the road. So we have to make sure we've got a lot of good things here and we have them here. And we want people to be able to access that. So if you're coming here, if you're a specialist or whatever, if we can work on our airport and stuff like that, these are all ways we can bring people in. And tourism, like they want us to look at alternatives to the oil and gas, which is our mainstay. Like our federal government is actually about 16% and oil and gas is 14. But that changed because of the downturn in the oil and gas. But these are two big things that are important in our area. And we don't forget it.
I'm going to cut here for a second because I want to word this question correctly, so I apologize. Okay, I'm going to cut back in. The issues you've talked about are very big macro issues, very big, very big umbrella that you talked about: healthcare, infrastructure, and policing and safety. But when you door knock, you're probably hearing the issues that are very micro as well. The potholes, the playground needs to be updated, more time at the pool, more hours at the library, the very micro things that are individualized. How do you see yourself as a counselor or in the next 4 years balancing the needs of the individual with the needs of the many? Because when I pay my property taxes, just like you feel, I'm assuming you want those property taxes a little bit to come back so you can say, I tangibly have paid and I get something in return for my tax dollars being paid. How do you see yourself balancing the needs of the many with the needs of the few? Because the few do matter as well.
Oh, they definitely do. If you've talked to anybody, when I've met anybody in need that needs help, I have no problem getting on my phone and texting and finding someone who can help me out. And I'll tell you, usually it's one of our city staff, or it's at, it can be at John Howard. FCSS has helped me. The medical people have helped me. The pharmacists have helped me. Like, I have no problem going to try and work those things out, and I'll work on anyone's behalf that way. We've had people who, like, I can use instances where they feel the traffic is going too fast by their place. So we've instilled traffic monitors and stuff like that and worked on it to see if it's viable for having, whether it be a speed bump or whatever you want to use at the place. We've done that. And if it's worked to their benefit, we do it. And if it hasn't, we don't. But I've taken the steps to bring it forward on their behalf. And I have no
Well,
problem doing that.
Well, which I appreciate. So I have two last questions in this segment. Then I'm going to start
Good,
wrapping up because I'm cautious of time here, Vicky.
good.
But the one thing I often hear from residents, no matter where I am in Canada, is politicians get elected and they don't come around until the next election. How do you ensure you are engaging with people throughout the term in office? Would people say that your council and yourself are actively engaging with people or are open to hear discussions about issues that are going on in the community?
Well, I don't know. That comes under communication, and I think that's a big well. Um,
Oh, it
we
is. It
we
is,
put
but I think it's going to be an issue that you're going to hear
yeah.
about a lot during this election because I've heard it a lot already, and I'm only doing these one-on-one interviews with municipal leaders.
I I don't go door to door knocking. That's not something I've done. I've put my signs up. I have my contact information and stuff like that.
But are
But
you willing to chat with people if they have an issue?
oh, absolutely. I've gone to coffee shops and met with people and stuff like that. I have no problem that way.
So that
And
then the flip question is, and I apologize to interrupt here, Vicky, but I just want to
that's
make sure
okay.
I get this in as well. How important is it for you as a counselor to listen to both sides? The people who agree with you, not silo yourself, the people who agree with you, and the people who say, Vicky, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with the vote you just did, but you need to listen to me because you're here to represent me
Represent me.
and not just the people who voted for you.
I think that's a great question. And I try to listen to everybody. Like I said, I've learned so much. And I've also learned that I can't meet everybody's needs, but I can listen and I can try my best to do something, right? I will do what I can to help you, whether it be fix something, change something, or whatever. And I have to be able to accept when I bring it to my council and we vote on it and I lose. One of the things they tell you when you're learning to be a municipal councillor or anyone on a governance body is that's the will of the council. You know, I did my best. I heard you. I'm speaking on your behalf and I'm bringing it forward. And this was my response. I'm sorry I couldn't do more, but there's some things I still continue to do and I don't always get everything, but that's okay. I
What
think Sorry, I just want to finish my thought. I think that's one good thing about our council is we can debate things at the table. And we're debating the issue of the playground on 7th Street. We're not debating Chris Brown or Vicky Lefebvre, right? I think that makes a big difference. And we learn from people. Like we had, even on our police committee, we had a young teenager on there. Like we wanted a rep from the local and she brought stuff we didn't even realize. And I think you just learn from everyone.
You certainly do. But there's also a point that I often get people to respond to as well. A lot of times people just want to be heard. A lot of times they feel like they're yelling into the void of social media. So sometimes they just want to be heard, even though they know it's not going to go their way. Sometimes they just want to be heard. And that's what democracy is truly all about. Just listening to people, even if they disagree with you. And I'm not trying to make this a pitch about what happened down south in the United States just recently, but we need to just listen to people and just accept the fact that people are opposites. Some people don't agree with us, and we still can listen to them.
Well, and I think you brought up a very good point. Like I put on mine, I think I deal with my responsibility with respect.
Yeah.
I may disagree with you wholeheartedly, but I have to listen to you and I need to know because you could have some very important information that I never thought about or it never entered my mind. So I did have one person tell me once, like, we may not get along, but I like that you listen. But I do listen, and one thing I'm working hard to do, and I'll say this is a fault of mine, is usually I listen for how to fix. I need to listen to listen. My daughter will do a prefix. Mom, just listen. Because I'm right away already going on how to solve it. But that's my personality, okay? So I've learned to try and listen because, like you said, you're very true there, Chris. People just want to be heard. And I'm okay if you have a different opinion than me. I have some people that like, we're on both ends of the spectrum. But that's one issue. There's 17 other things I could hug you for?
Want to turn to my very last question of the
Okay.
interview, and I apologize, but I need to ask it in a very weird
Okay.
way. But
Okay.
for
Give
those
it
who are
to me.
listening, this episode is airing after the nomination period has closed. Now, if you are running in the city of Cold Lake for this upcoming municipal election and you are on the technical ballot after September 20th, when the nomination period has 22nd, as the nomination period has closed, please reach out to us and we'd love to have you on to talk about why you are running in this campaign, but also why you are running for the City of Cold Lake Council. We need to give equal and opportune time to every single person who is running in this election in the city of Cold Lake. And we will be doing that by reaching out to your emails. So please check your emails if you're listening to this episode and you are running in the city of Cold Lake. With that being said, Vicky,
Hmm.
this is the point in time when I turn the microphone over to you, and I'm going to step away for 2 seconds, and you can take as long as you want or as little time as you want. Why should people put their trust in you on October 20th to continue on as being one of the City of Cold Lake's councillors for the 2025-2029 term?
Okay. Thank you very much for the question, Chris. Um, I would say I'm asking for your vote again because I feel I've worked hard in the past 15 years for you as a city councillor. I believe I've dealt with people with respect. I feel a responsibility for the city, and my goals are for the good of the city. And I'll listen and work on whatever I can to help things come to fruition for either your goals or the city's goals. I think we have a wonderful place to live. I want to keep it that way. I want people to want to come to Cold Lake to raise their family. I want them to retire here, enjoy what we have. We have a beautiful, magnificent lake. We have a wonderful base. We have so many things to be grateful here in Cold Lake. And I want the honor of being able to continue to serve you. I believe in serving, and that's about it. I'm not going to be out there ho ho ha ha. That's not who I am. I consider myself, Chris, a worker. I don't need the accolades. Tell me what you want and I'll work on it. And I'll work as hard as I can. Whatever group or committee you put me on, my focus is that. Thank you.
Vicky, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for sitting down with me. Now, I did say that was my last question, but I forgot to ask the question that we were starting to do in the pre-interview before I told you we leave it till the end. But people won't be voting for you in two different spots this election. You've decided that you're not running for re-election for the Cold Lake Catholic School Board. What was the decision based on there?
You know, I love Lakeland Catholic and I love education. So I, but I think I can do more work closer to home here. Also, as I mentioned, I'm getting a little more longer in the tooth. Don't necessarily have that same energy I have as before. And this last term with council, we had a lot of counselors who worked. So Counselor Parker and myself, we took on a lot of day meetings. So we were extremely busy. I mean, I was happy to help our fellow counselors because that's a way of balancing it. So I just think that I can pour my efforts into the city of Cold Lake and do what's best here. And I can always advocate for my faith and education anytime because I'm a lover of Portage College, secondary education. I think that's so important. And the city of Cold Lake has advocated for the air mechanics engineers out at the airport. Like, we look at making this a better place to be, and I want to be a part of that still. I like it. I love it. What can I say?
Vicky, from the bottom of my heart, and I say this not often on the show, but thank you so much for serving your community, for being part of your community. I never know what I'm going to get from these interviews, and I have a newfound respect for the people of Cold Lake who have kept putting their trust in you to serve them after our conversation today. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for doing this. This was an
Thank
honest
you.
to
And you have
goodness
to come
pleasure.
up so I can take you around. I love doing the Driving Miss Daisy tour.
Hey,
Really?
no. So I'm never driving my car ever again. I'm always going to rent a car if I have to go anywhere outside the city of Calgary. So I will be up there in the next few weeks with a rental car. So we'll just drive in my rental car because we'll just put the miles on that thing and then we just give it back to Enterprise or Budget, who do not sponsor this show. So, blah, 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 blah. So Vicky, thank you so much for doing this.
I appreciate you reaching out to me. This has been a true joy, and I'm grateful to the citizens of Cold Lake, and I look forward to hopefully serving them for another 4 years.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Cross Border Interviews. Now, we hope you've enjoyed today's conversation and gained some valuable insights. Now, quick editorial note. This was our very last episode of Alberta Municipal Politicians until after the October 20th election. That is to give equal and opportune time to every single person who is running in this campaign a chance to come on this show. So from here on out, anyone who is in Alberta Municipalities World or RMA World, those episodes will be featured on our sister show, Municipal Affairs, the Alberta Municipal Votes 2025 series. So we do want to take a moment and say, if you are running in this upcoming election and want to be featured on this show, please reach out to us via social media, via email, or head over to the Cross Border Network website and click on the Join the Show link at the bottom of the page. There you can fill out your information. We can get back to you as soon as possible. Now, your support means the world to us. So if you can, share this episode with your friends, your family, and yes, even your community, and help keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we will be back with a brand new episode of Cross Border Interviews shortly. Till then, everyone.